Hey, what's up, everybody? So, what do I believe is the outlook for silver and gold and the stock market? So, we had some pretty big news in regards to China and the U.S. trade negotiations. As many of you have probably already heard, um, China and the U.S. have come to a agreement in principle, basically a verbal agreement in trade phase one. And we're going to look into that a little bit deeper in this video. But if you have noticed, the stock market has been reacting pretty big to what's been going on in trade. Every time trade negotiations between the US and China have stalled, when talks have stalled, stock market has gone down pretty big. And the same with silver and gold. Silver and gold has kind of been reacting the opposite as it normally does to the stock market. And silver and gold, every time talks would stall, silver and gold would go up. When talks would resume, when the outlook looked kind of positive, or when Donald Trump would tweet that talks are going good, stock market would go up a couple hundred points, and silver and gold typically, not always, but typically would decline. So what is going to be the outlook? What is silver and gold going to do if this trade, once it's on paper and signed by these leaders, what is silver and gold going to do? What is the stock market going to do? We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Um, let's take a look at this article. This is CNBC, and this says Trump says the U.S. has come to a substantial phase one deal with China. The U.S. has come to a very substantial phase one deal with China in the high stakes trade negotiation between the two economic superpowers, President Donald Trump says on Friday. Phase two will start almost immediately. After the first phase is signed, Trump says in the Oval Office alongside the Chinese negotiator for President Xi. Both sides in long-running talks, which resumed at top level this week, signals optimism. So let's take a look. CNBC, they always want to put the most awful pictures of President Trump on here. He's like closing his eyes and all of that, whatever. So it says here the U.S. has come to a very substantial phase one deal with China in the high stakes trade negotiation between the two economic superpowers, President Trump says on Friday. Didn't we already read that exact thing up here? Okay, so let's get down to the nitty gritty of this. Okay, the first portion of the trade deal will be written over the next 3 weeks, Trump said. It will address intellectual properties, financial service concerns, along with purchases of about 40 to 50 billion dollars worth of agricultural products by China, Trump said. So that's pretty big. That's pretty big for the farmers. The farmers, from what I've heard and that, have been struggling because of the trade war, but this here is going to be pretty big. And also, what I've also heard is that once this is signed between these two leaders, Donald Trump and President Xi of China, this does not require congressional approval. They don't have to approve it, unlike the Canada, Mexico, U.S. trade deal that has to go through Congress. This one here does not have to go through Congress, from what I've been told and from what I have read. So if that's the case, that's pretty big. So this is phase one, and there is the two men who have been negotiating this deal, shaking hands, really cool. But what do you guys think about this? But what do we think about silver and gold and the stock market. Now, of course, this is all based on verbal talks. It's all been agreed upon verbally. Nothing is on paper. Nothing's been signed. So what does this mean? Right now, we have to wait until this gets put on the paper, and we have to wait until these two leaders meet side by side and put their signature to a paper. But if and when that is done, I believe the stock market, oh my gosh, I think the stock market could, and again, this is not financial advice, this is just my opinion. I think the stock market, once it is all said and done, I mean, even now, before pen is put to paper, I believe over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I believe the stock market could go up pretty much every day, little by little. Um, but once the pen is put to paper, I believe the stock market could go up between 1,500 and 2,000 points. Um, so what are we at right now? The Dow, I believe, is at 2,600. We'll have to take a look at that. Let's take a look at the markets, U.S. markets. I believe the Dow is at 2,600 points. Okay. Yeah, we're at right around almost 2,700 points. We could be looking at possibly 28,000 points. 28,000 points for the Dow. And but what about silver and gold? What about silver and gold? I believe once this deal is final, if it actually gets signed, I believe silver and gold could go back down to silver. I believe could go back down to 15, $15, $14, and I believe gold could go back down to 12, 1300. $1,200 price range. If we remember, before all of these negotiations started, before the trade war started, um, the movements in gold and silver may not be 100% related to the US and China trade, but I believe most of it has been because of trade. Um, so I believe, before the trade war actually started, if you remember, gold was at, you know, just under $1,300, and silver was, around $14 and some change, 14 to $15. And I believe we could be headed back to those price levels um, once again, once this trade deal is final. So this is pretty big news. This is pretty big news. I am a fan of when spot price is lower. I know a lot of people like to see spot price go up, especially the people who want to unload their silver. I don't really want to unload my silver. If silver went up to, $30 an ounce, let's say, I probably would take a little bit and uh, and sell a little bit and wait for the price to drop. But I just don't want to sell, so I want to accumulate. I want to accumulate more silver. I want to accumulate more gold. Just lately, I haven't been doing that because I just didn't want. I don't want to pay the prices that we're currently looking at for silver, and I don't want to. I definitely don't want to pay the prices that we're looking at for gold. Um, I think 1,500 for gold for me, for my budget, is just way too much. But once gold gets back, especially when once gold gets back to under $1,300 an ounce, I will be back in buying mode once again for gold and silver. If silver gets back into the 14 dollar range or even lower, I'll be definitely buying more of them American Silver Eagles, and the cheapest silver as far as spot is concerned. over spot, silver over spot, the cheapest that I can find. But let me know what you guys think about the U.S. China trade deal. What do you think the prices of silver is going to be? The price of silver, the price of gold, the stock market, the Dow. What do you think all of this is going to mean once everything is signed and put into law? Thanks a lot, everybody, for watching and listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to everybody on my next video. Thanks a lot, everyone.